the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Guys, and welcome to episode 208 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Bexon. Some interesting things happening here within the Costa Rican real estate market. We actually published the other day that in the last 60 days, 3,000 new properties have hit the market here for sale. So it's going to be, as we said, I think when we had the episode with Scott Cutter on episode 201, where he says that, look, there's going to be a little bit of a correction here. I think we're starting to see that in some areas of Costa Rica. I'm definitely seeing it in Santa Teresa, the outer areas of Nosara. In Tamarindo, not so much, maybe a few things here and there. Grande, no, quite the opposite. Actually, Grande seems to be going the other way. Potrero is kind of quieting down a little bit. Flamingo is still very strong. Coco is still pretty strong as well. Manuel Antonio, very, very strong. Dominical, Uvita, starting to see a little bit of corrections and flexibility there in pricing. So there are certain areas in Costa Rica, that are having corrections, and there are other areas that continue to go strong. And I'm not too sure that we're going to see much change there this year, just because, again, on one of the other previous podcasts we did, a lot of people looking at Costa Rica for a plan B. Well, we've got lots going on here in Costa Rica. We just kicked off our fractional ownership in RNL. So anyone that's interested in that can email us info@investingcostarrica.com. That's info@investingcostarrica.com. Basically, we're looking for 11 investors of $100,000 each. Actually, a few of them have actually already been assigned. We are in the final design phases there. So our goal there basically is to have this property ready by October next year, ready for the up and coming high season. So it's a 5-bedroom home there in RNL. But anyway, today we're going to be talking with Shannon. Shannon is the owner of Pura Villas, a property management company based in the southern zone of Costa Rica. I'm sure you guys recently have seen we've had quite a few of the realtors on. So I think it's very good to also get a property manager on and kind of get their perspective, for potential investors, designing vacation rentals, and also what to look for in a property manager, because a lot of you guys out there that do end up investing here or buying here in Costa Rica do require a property manager. So we're going to be asking her what questions she thinks that you should be asking your property managers. So, but yeah, anyway, let's get straight into the podcast. Good morning, Shannon. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Very, very good. Thank you very much for joining us on this beautiful morning on the podcast.
Yeah, happy to do so. Happy to be back and happy to chat about vacation rentals.
Awesome. Well, the first question I always like to, ask is markets have had a good start in 2024. They're beginning to soften a little bit. We've got an election in the US where, we don't talk politics on this on the podcast. But I mean, what are you seeing happening here in Costa Rica?
I would say we had a very good start of the year, one of the best we've ever had. And I will apologize, my baby's out there somewhere.
No, don't worry. We're a family podcast.
And we're a family business. So yeah, we had a really good start to the year. One of the very best high seasons, December through Easter, basically, that we've ever had. It was great. Yep. So much interest, so many visitors, and it really has softened. It's really slowed down. I think state of the world in general. People are a little bit worried. People kind of turn their eye elsewhere, and it slowed down for the summer. Yeah. That being said, this last month, July was great. We had tons of visitors. So it's kind of up and down. And that is kind of the business. We are seeing a lot of interest for next year already, though. Yeah. So we're predicting a very good year next year.
Yeah, I was having a conversation last night with some, I'd call them tourism leaders, even though we were drinking over beers. And we were just talking about what is 2025 going to look like, and I said, look, I think that the high season, December through to April is going to be busy every year. There's no doubt everything will be full. Everything will be busy. I think where we're starting to we're returning to seasonality, and what that seasonality looks like, we don't know yet. We don't know what those lows kind of, the low season, the April, Mays and the September, Octobers kind of look like yet.
Yeah. I would agree. When I was growing up, everything here in Costa Rica, everything shut down. September, October, November, closed. Yep. And then green season became a thing. As people started to realize, wow, September, October, November is a beautiful time of year to be down here. It's
Yep.
less busy. There's the rain is actually really nice. It usually doesn't rain all day. It's just an afternoon rain.
Yep.
We actually prefer it, to be honest. It's a little bit cooler, it's greener, and so people started to pick up on that, and we saw, that it's still low season, but it's not dead season. It's green
Correct.
season. It really is a thing. And then last year was very strange. We had high season was all right. It's kind of the low hanging fruit, but we actually had a really good green season as well.
Yeah.
This year remains to be seen. It seems to fluctuate quite a bit. And I can't predict what will happen in 2025, but we're getting a lot of interest out of the traditional kind of high season.
Yeah.
More and more interest out of it. Now, I will say what we do see is the high season gets better rates. There's more
Yep.
demand. And so as long as we adjust those rates for green season, we do see quite a bit of interest still in that green season.
Yeah, in my experience, usually about in those 4 months, December to April, about 60% of your revenue is made during that period of time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say 60 plus, if you consider
Yep.
New Year's and, Christmas and New Year's, which get such high rates, and Easter, it's
Yep.
that's the low hanging fruit. That's the first to go, the easiest to fill.
Yep.
When I'm talking to our homeowners, I always tell them, it's your house. You're welcome to come whenever you want. But if you're looking to maximize revenue, don't come during that time because that's money time.
Yeah.
Enjoy the green season and send friends and family during the green season. And that way you'll maximize your income, but still get to come and enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I just want to cover a point which you said there, which is September, October. I completely agree that, usually everyone's like, oh, it rains constantly. And maybe once in a while you could get rain all day, but it really is in the afternoons, as you mentioned there. But waterfalls, it's whale season down in the southern zone. It's really a great time of year to come.
Yeah, it's cooler, it's green, it's beautiful. The rivers are flowing. There are less people, which is actually nice. You don't have, the lines and
Yep.
you can jump on a tour last minute, not worry about it. It's really, availability. There's availability of everything. Rates are a little bit lower. It's actually my favorite time of year down here.
I'm with you. I do all my traveling in Costa Rica mainly in September and October. So yeah. Well, look, you mentioned there, you speak to your homeowners. A lot of people are looking to have a second home or to invest in a vacation, home in Costa Rica. Do you think this is a good idea? And what advice would you give them? Because I'm sure you have advice for them.
Oh, I have plenty of advice at this point in time. Yes, with caveats. I think what we've seen, we focus on luxury vacation rentals, and it's mostly because we've seen that's where the return on investment is best.
Yep.
I love a little casita on the beach, don't get me wrong, but the return on investment there isn't going to be the same as a 4, 5, 6 bedroom luxury ocean view villa.
Yep.
So I guess my point there is just think about the costs entailed. There are very many costs entailed in a vacation rental that I think people aren't aware of before they get into it. There's, the housekeeping's huge. You can't rent a dirty villa. And that has its costs. There's the cost of electricity in Costa Rica is quite high. So if you're going to have air conditioning, especially being in the coastal area, that can add up very quickly. The cost of having a property manager, the cost of having a gardener, the cost of any repairs. So if you have a pool, the cost of the pool maintenance. So the more rooms you add, the more you can charge, the more that cost gets spread out,
Yep.
and the more return on investment you'll get. So yes, I think if you're going to invest in a larger vacation rental or one that sleeps a lot of people, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of rooms, whether it's a different makeup of beds, bunk beds, rollout beds that fits more people, you'll get a better return on investment than just a little house. And I guess the other thing I would say is because it is a fluctuating market, I don't recommend people do it just for an investment. Do it if you love Costa Rica. Do it if you want to come and enjoy your house. Do it if you want to come and enjoy your house and have, a lot of the expenses paid for. Then you'll enjoy the whole experience because Costa Rica isn't for everyone. And having a vacation rental here isn't the same as having a vacation rental in, say, Arizona. The jungle takes back quickly. There's things you have to maintain, think about. So yeah, do it if you love Costa Rica, if you like to spend time here, if you want to come with your friends and family and also make some money.
Yeah. I mean, Shannon, you mentioned return on investment a couple of times there. People are always asking me, hey, Rich, I'd like to make a 10% return on my investment. And I'm like, well, I mean, it can be done, but it's not easy, if that makes sense.
I
I mean,
totally agree.
typically, what do your homeowners, just to give us a rough idea, I mean, where's the middle part? And then like, what's your top stuff kind of returning, would you say roughly?
That's a tough one. And I don't know that I have the numbers in front of me. It really depends because our homeowners vary so much. I have some homeowners who, and we're very much a boutique property management company. I'm the kind that'll say I block out dates. You can't come.
Yep.
Your house, you can come whenever you want. You can send friends and family whenever you want. This is our philosophy. It will affect your return on investment, though, if you send a bunch of people in high season. And I do have those homeowners who say, you know what? I want to enjoy my place.
Yep.
All of July is full with family and friends who are not paying. That's going to affect their return on investment. And then I have others that say, I want the highest occupancy rate, the best rates I can get. Give me what you can give me, go all in. And their return on investment will be much higher. Then I have some that are worried about who's going to come to their house and they, want very, very high rates, less occupancy. So there's just different strategies.
Yeah.
It's really hard to give you like an average. But I will say this, it also depends on the marketing, how much they're willing to put into photos and how much they're willing to, spread it with their friends and family and their networks back home. I think for me, the 4-bedroom and above is where you get a better return on investment.
Yeah.
It does take years. It takes 1 to 2 years to get reviews, to get things rolling, to really start to see that return on investment. And then 10% would be probably the high end, and it would take a few years.
Yeah.
The bigger return on investment is probably the real estate once you sell. But in order to sell, you need to have the house maintained, and property management and vacation rentals actually help maintain the house. This is the truth.
No, look, I completely agree. Look, I do some consulting to one of the country's, I would say, most luxurious property management companies here. And there are properties they're making 10% above, but these are 8, 9, 11 bedroom, properties. Like you can make 10% returns. It's going to take a couple of years. Sometimes if you're going to buy a house and it already has a rental history, that can be a good thing because you can just kind of take that on and roll with it. As long as you're not, as long as it's a good rental history, if that makes sense. And you like the property manager, because if you're going to switch property managers, there's a whole different, kind of reset there as well. So
definitely. And if the house has been well maintained, we mostly take on new villas so that we can start from the beginning. So it's, there's a process to get it all set up and to get those reviews and to get it rolling. I do really believe in the history of the property manager as well. There's Airbnb is still the major player on the market. So having somebody who has a super host and has a lot of reviews for other properties, even if that property doesn't have reviews, they can click on the profile and see reviews from other properties. So having somebody who has that history, who has that experience as a property manager does help. I also think it depends on your property manager. There are some property managers who only list on the major players, Airbnb and Vrbo, a vacation rental by owner, and that's it. We're on close to 20 different platforms from Marriott. We've seen a lot of people coming through Marriott because they can use their points, to our own website. We have quite a base of return clients who call us every time they come, to more European-based ones, Homes to Go. So really making sure that whoever you're working with is on not just the major players, but, really getting the word out there, and liaising with tour agencies. We've had a lot of folks that come through tour agencies, and that's another big part of the market.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting market here. I remember when Andaz first came to Costa Rica, which is the Hyatt brand, they were like, well, we're not going to touch travel companies, tour agencies. And I was like, I remember saying to the general manager, dude, you're shooting yourself in the foot here because it's about 50% of the market here, like especially the luxury market. Anyway, they came calling back like a year later and, like, Rich, you were right. Like, how do we get into this market? And I was like, well, hear all the context. But like, I agree, you need to be it needs to be like a stool with multiple legs. Like you can't just have Airbnb. Like if your property managers, the majority of the income is coming from one source, like that's scary, because one change in algorithm, one thing that goes wrong, like that goes away. And like, it's a question I always have my owners when looking at property managers, ask the question of like, what's the property management system that you're using? How does it use its channel manager? And then how many platforms are you on? And then also show me your revenue sources, and they're usually taken back by that because owners don't ask those questions typically.
I think that's such important questions to ask, though.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of property managers down here where they might be focused on, the day-to-day maintenance, and then they, throw it up on Airbnb, get a few rentals, but that's not going to get you the return most homeowners are looking for.
Yeah.
And it really, it's more than just throwing it up on Airbnb. You really got to get out there. You got to share it. You got to get it with those rental agencies, with those, you got to get it with those travel agents. We frequently do podcasts, walkthroughs. We work with like Villas of Distinction. We do Wine Wednesdays where we walk them through houses so their agents really feel they know the house.
Yep.
You need to get somebody who's out there and who is doing the work to market your house. Yeah. And that's more than just listing it on Airbnb.
I agree. I think there are many different levels of property managers in Costa Rica. So yeah.
Agreed.
But, I mean, you and I have always talked about a lot about when designing a home, what things it should have in it, because a lot of people do design homes from scratch with the intention of like, look, I'm building my dream home, but I also want to rent. And I think that that's always a balance in design as well, because sometimes stuff that you might want might not go hand in hand with being a vacation rental, if that makes sense, and
100%.
Some people are like, hey, I'd love to have a wine cellar. And it's like, well, that's great. But in a vacation rental, you're going to have to lock that thing up. Alcohol gets drunken. But when designing a vacation rental, I mean, what advice would you give? What things should be included? What should not?
I think that's a great question. And we get pulled in frequently towards the end of construction. And, there's certain suggestions we can make. But frequently I'm like, oh, I wish you'd asked me that first. I think the key things are, the homeowner's plans. How often are they going to be there? Do they need a homeowner's closet, which is something we usually recommend, where they can keep if they have their grandma's fine china that they want to use while they're there. Not something I recommend putting out with guests.
Yep.
But use when you're there, or super fine linens or whatever. Have that closet where you can put those things that you want to use when you're there. Plus, if you want to leave clothes or electronics, but make sure you lock it. Make sure it's a space that you have for your personal items that can be locked. What I do see often, and this is a kind of getting nuanced, but a lot of times the builder will put the breaker box in the homeowner's closet. Bad idea.
Yep.
We have a lot of electrical fluctuations here in Costa Rica. Breakers tend to trip, and then they're behind a locked closet. That gets a little tricky.
Yep.
So do not put your breaker box in the locked closet. Do not put your internet modem or router in the locked closet. That happens frequently as well. So just think about where your property managers are going to need to access, where guests may need to access, what might happen. And then I guess touching on what I just said, make sure that you're using, of course, if you're doing luxury, you don't want to have really crappy towels or really yucky sheets, but don't go with the finest, highest linens. They won't last. You're going to have to replace them.
You're running a hotel.
You're running a hotel. Same with glasses. They break. It's not that people, necessarily mean to, but, one of the things we go through the most are wine glasses and plates. People don't mean to. They're washing them. They drop them. They knock them over. They're relaxed. They're having a good time. They have kids. We go through those things. Yeah. So stock your house also with things that are easy to replace, things that are readily available in the country, not something that suddenly we broke part of the set of plates and now we can't find them anywhere in the country and we have to get you another whole set. Yep. So just something that's readily available, easy to replace, nice, but maybe not ultra uber expensive or special to you. That's a huge one. And then what we had talked about before, I really think a versatility in the way you sleep guests, because you're going to have some people who come, it's a 4-bedroom, they have 4 couples. Okay, 4 king beds are great. But then you might have two families where they have multiple kids and couples. And if you get one of those king beds that splits, that's amazing. Or rollaways, or different assortments of bunk beds. The more people you can sleep in different combinations, the more you open yourself up to different markets, not just couples, not just families. We're seeing a huge interest in retreats, especially in our area. So people want to be able to sleep people in different ways, sleep as many people as they can. So yeah, just thinking about bedding and how to sleep people is huge and can make a big impact in how much we can charge. If you have a 4-bedroom that really only sleeps 8 in 4 king beds versus a 4-bedroom that sleeps 10 or 12, we can charge more for that 4-bedroom that sleeps 10 or 12.
I agree.
Bottom line. Yeah. So those would be kind of my top recommendations.
What about actual things in the property, like outdoor, I don't know, outdoor dining areas, pool? Like, what is your advice on those main things in a home?
Yeah. So a couple different things to keep in mind. The more amenities, the better. Pool. For us, what we look for, we won't take a house that's not ocean view. Most people want ocean view. Has a private pool. Doesn't have to be a huge pool, but a big enough pool. Most people in our area are considering putting either outdoor showers or outdoor tubs because that's just, quintessential Costa Rica, the indoor, outdoor people love. AC, we're getting more and more people asking for AC. A lot of houses have just put it in the bedrooms. I think that's the minimum, at least having the AC in the bedrooms. Not everyone will use it, but people want to have that, especially if you're on the coast, have that option. But more and more people are asking for AC in the common areas as well.
I think that's a must, Shannon, to be honest with you. I mean, there's this beautiful house in Guanacaste that's an art piece and no AC in the main living area. And in our vacation rental, we had an 8-bedroom. We didn't have it and I had to put it in because there was just so many complaints.
Yeah, so that's most of our houses that haven't had it in the common area end up installing it afterwards, which is more work, more money, time off of the market. So yeah, I would consider putting it in from the beginning. Yeah, so AC is huge. And then what else? Oh, things that last. Jungle takes back quickly, especially in our area. If you're in a coastal area, which a lot of vacation rentals are in the coastal areas, with the jungle, something that's going to hold up to that humid climate. Quality materials, things that aren't going to rot. Good fabrics, like umbrella fabrics that are easy to clean. We had one vacation rental, was gorgeous, but all white material. And they didn't have zippers on any of the cushions. So the cleaning lady would literally unsew it, take out all of the filling, clean them, and then sew it back. Wow. So, things that are easy to clean that you can just take those cushions off because they will get dirty, throw them in the wash and get them clean. Wash is a big thing. Make sure you have a high capacity and good washer and dryer because that thing is going to get well used. And quick turnovers allow you to not have to block out nights. So if you can even have a double, either a very large or even a double washer, that'll help you do quicker turnovers depending on the size of the house, right? But wash is usually the thing that slows down the turnovers the most. So that's another thing to consider. We also recommend having doubles of everything. So double sheets, double towels. So if you can't get through a whole cycle of wash with a quick turnover, that you have another set. So making sure that the house is well stocked with linens. And then a huge amenity people are asking for. We have, unfortunately, quite a few electrical outages in our area and in Costa Rica in general. So anybody who has a generator, backup battery, energy storage, those are huge. That means, people it's seamless. You don't feel when there's a power outage. And that's unfortunate. That is a part of Costa Rica. But the homes that have that get the best reviews. And we're able to sort of inch those rates up. And I know that's a big expense. So it's a tough one to consider, but it does make a big difference. And it's easier on your all of your devices because those fluctuations really are tough on appliances.
Yeah, I mean, a backup diesel generator is costing you close to $30,000. A solar system with batteries is probably closer to 40,000, maybe even $50,000. But these are just things. I think minimum at least have those battery pack connected to like modems and stuff. So if it does go down, at least people have internet, if that makes sense, because usually they have batteries and stuff. I love it sometimes, not everyone does, but it's like when the electricity goes out, it's like a moment to stop. Like it's like, dude, stop and be present because you're in a beautiful country, so be present.
Yeah, it's true, but there's so many people who are digital nomads or the have a healthy budget, but it means they do need to check in with work back home. And so they do get annoyed by those outages. And it is a part of the it is a part of the experience. It is what it is. I always feel like when the electricity goes out, it gets really quiet.
Yep.
And you're like, wow, I didn't realize there was so many humming and, the fridge and all of the AC and there's all these noises and it gets really quiet. But not everybody feels like that. So the other thing to consider what I was going to say with the outages, we recommend to all our homeowners to be able to protect all of your appliances, have double surge protection. Yep. So have a whole home surge protection, but that's not enough. Usually you also need to put a surge protector on each of your appliances to help those with the fluctuations.
Okay, that's great advice. I mean, that's something new for me, to be honest with you, Shannon. We usually do surge protectors for the home, but now thinking about it to double it, that's great advice.
Yeah, a surge protector isn't super expensive. There's the individual one, but if it saves your fridge, which then might save having to reimburse for a night when there's no fridge for a guest, it might save a review. It's worth all of those different headaches. And we've seen surges blow through whole home surge protectors. So having that double protection we do it on our personal home, and we recommend it for all of our homeowners.
That's great advice. I mean, we covered earlier about what makes a great property manager and what questions you should ask. I mean, in your opinion, what makes a good property manager and what are the questions that you should be asking in order to be able to uncover, because there are good ones and there are probably bad ones as well. There are okay ones, but what questions should you be asking to kind of really unravel that?
Yeah, I think honestly, it's a tough job, and I think there are good and bad ones, but I also think there are good ones for you and bad ones for you. And by which I mean, it's all about a relationship. So I think the most important thing, for some people, their home is going to be their biggest investment in life, or they're using their inheritance. So it becomes even emotional, or this is their retirement dream. So it's a big deal. So having somebody that you feel good with, that you feel that you can speak with honestly, openly, that communicates well, that responds quickly, that you feel you have a sense of trust with and compatibility with is huge. Both the homeowner, but also for the property manager. If there's not a good relationship there, it's not going to work out. If there's not good open communication, it's not going to work out either way. So I would say spend the time to meet with the property managers to really, see which one you connect with. And then, yes, there are a bunch of questions. I would definitely ask about their time in property management. More time doesn't necessarily mean better, but that they have a couple years under their belt is a big deal. I would ask, and we touched on this before, where they publish, if they're just publishing on Airbnb and Vrbo, or if they're really spreading the word, especially if you're looking for a return on investment, where are they publishing your home? I would ask what services are included, because different property managers have different business plans and include different things. So making sure you're very clear and not making assumptions on what is included and what is not included. And then, at this point, we have a pretty full plate. We're not really accepting many more properties, and we've never advertised. It's pure recommendation. So I would ask for referrals. I would be sure you talk to some of their homeowners, ask about their experience with that property manager, and then ask how many properties they have. I've seen too many property managers take on too many properties and not be able to properly manage them. And that can be solved with employees as well. So it's not a straightforward question. It's how many properties do you have? Us, for instance, we've decided not to have full-time employees. It's a very conscious decision. I don't feel an employee does the same job as an owner of a company. So we have part-time employees, but we really try to keep our stock of homes, the homes that we work with, small in order to not take on too many employees.
Yep.
And I've seen some companies grow really big, take on a bunch of employees, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're doing a better job.
Yeah.
So, just ask them about how they work, how many properties, how they're handling it. Do they feel they have the time to take you on? Because I've seen it a lot where they take on too much and then can't keep up with it. What other questions would I ask? I think those would be the main ones. And yeah, I think those are the big ones.
Awesome. Yeah, I think they're great questions to ask, and definitely you should interview. And as you said there, it's a business relationship. It's like a partnership. So you need to make sure that you enjoy working with the person at the other side of the table, because if not, when issues arise, like you're not going to get past them. So, and switching property management can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes.
It can be a nightmare, and you might lose all your momentum because certain platforms don't allow reviews to switch between property managers. So it means you're going to lose all the reviews. You're going to lose all the momentum you might have had, all the relationships that property manager might have and have shared your home with, different travel agencies and whatnot. So yeah, try to choose well from the beginning and not have to switch property managers.
Awesome. Well, I've kept you long enough, but my last question for you, Shannon, which I love to ask everyone: if you inherited $500,000 and you had to invest it into business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in and why?
That's a great question. I can think of multiple things, but one thing I've been saying for a while, in our area specifically, we're seeing a huge influx of people trying to live here either part of the year or all of the year, or coming and building their homes and needing a medium to long-term rental, and not being able to find a good medium to long-term rental.
Yep.
And so if I were to inherit 500,000, I think I would do maybe some really nice condos, not huge, or apartments, maybe whatever I could afford with 500,000, but some nice condos, maybe even a shared really nice pool with a common area. I think that's really missing in the market here. I think there's a lot of demand for it, and there's not a lot of options for folks. So I think that's what I would do.
Great response. Well, Shannon, really appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast. Anyone that wants to look at your portfolio of properties that you manage, I will include all the descriptions down below. But thanks very much for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
No worries. Have a great day, Shannon.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Always love chatting to Shannon here on the podcast. Again, she manages a multitude of luxury rentals in the southern zone of Costa Rica, Dominical, Uvita, Ojochal area. And I think it's really important, because ultimately they are the individuals that are going to manage the property and be responsible for its revenue whenever you're making an investment here, or even just having a company or having a house that's a vacation rental that, you're still going to need a property manager, someone to take care of it. So, I mean, if you're thinking about designing, it's always great to listen to those podcasts to really get the feedback there, because I wouldn't have even thought, it wasn't top of my head there of having a breaker box in, an owner room, or if there's an owner's kind of closet that also, all of the electrical and modem stuff is in it, and having that locked, yes, it could be a bit of a nightmare. Because again, when the electricity goes out or something, there's a switch that flips and you need to go in, and like the property manager doesn't need to do it. The person that's staying there could just walk in and do it. But if it's locked, that's not possible. But yeah, just some great advice there. I think that we're still seeing here in Costa Rica a need for long-term rentals as well. There are returns that can be made in that. Quite a few of our clients have done that as well. It's just about finding the right property at the right price as well. But anyway, if you've enjoyed the podcast, guys, please give us 5 stars, thumbs up. I've seen a couple of reviews posted, so very much appreciate that, guys. It's kind of it's great for me and gives me motivation to continue just seeing those responses. So, as if I need motivation after 208 episodes, but, we'll continue to do this. We've got a bunch of new ones coming out in the coming weeks on wellness and also the legal. So yeah. And again, if anyone's looking to do anything here in Costa Rica, is looking to invest, would like guidance, help, even relocation, we have a long-term car rental business. We do have some investments that we manage ourselves as well. You can email us info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. If you want to chat with someone in my office as well, in the link down below, there's a link there where you can basically organize a no obligation free consultation, and just even to get our input, guys, and some direction. But anyway, I appreciate everyone's support and hope everybody has a great day. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.